Yeah, I feel like in a comedy show, you know, there's no room for the best part of the story, which is the ending. You know, in order to finish on a laugh, you know, you have to end, you know, with punchlines. Like, take my coming out story, for example. The best part of that story is the fact that Mum and I have a wonderful relationship now. More than mother and daughter, we're friends. We trust each other. Look what I've done to the room. No tension. You're just going, yeah, good on you. Got a good relationship with your mum, have you? Can you go back to the tension? That was hilarious. But yeah, Mum said to me last year, she said, I'm very proud that I raised you kids without religion. Now, I'd love to give you guys context on that, but that's not how my mum runs a conversation. I have no idea why she brought that up in Target. I don't know. No idea. She said, I'm very proud that I raised you kids without religion because, you know, I've raised 5 children with minds of their own. And I've just sort of gone, oh, yeah? Good on you. What aren't you proud of, Mum? I was home for a week. We had time. Because Mum and I have established jokes around this difficult time in our life. We really do. We have banter, if you will. I say things like, Mum, you made my life very difficult. And she'll go, yeah, well, I don't think I liked you very much. And we laugh. Because you've got to laugh. And... but not this day. She went quiet and got tense. But what my mum eventually said to me is pretty much at the core of why I'm questioning comedy. She said to me, the thing I regret is that I raised you as if you were straight. I didn't know any different. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I knew well before you did that your life was going to be so hard. I knew that, and I wanted more than anything in the world not to be the case. But I now know I made it worse. I made it worse because I wanted you to change, because I knew the world wouldn't. And I looked at my mum in that moment and I thought, how did that happen? How did my mum get to be the hero of my story? She evolved. I didn't. I think part of my problem is comedy has suspended me in a perpetual state of adolescence. The way I've been telling that story is through jokes. And stories, unlike jokes, need 3 parts: a beginning, a middle, and an end. Jokes, only 2 parts: a beginning and a middle. And what I had done with that comedy show about coming out was I froze an incredibly formative experience at its trauma point, and I sealed it off into jokes. And that story became a routine, and through repetition, that joke version fused with my actual memory of what happened. But unfortunately, that joke version was not nearly sophisticated enough to help me undo the damage done to me in reality. Punchlines need trauma, because punchlines need tension, and tension feeds trauma. I didn't come out to my grandma last year because I'm still ashamed of who I am. Not intellectually, but right there, I still have shame. You learn from the part of the story you focus on. I need to tell my story properly. Because the closet for me was no easy thing to come out of. From the years 1989 to 1997, right, this is 10 years, effectively my adolescence. Tasmania was at the centre of a very toxic national debate about homosexuality and whether or not it should be legalised. And I'm from the northwest coast of Tasmania, the Bible Belt. 70% of the people I lived amongst believe that homosexuality should be a criminal act. 70% of the people who raised me, who loved me, who I trusted, believed that homosexuality was a sin, that homosexuals were heinous, subhuman pedophiles. 70%. And by the time I identified as being gay, it was too late. I was already homophobic. And you do not get to just flick a switch on that. No, what you do is you internalise that homophobia and you learn to hate yourself. Hate yourself to the core. I sat soaking in shame in the closet for 10 years because the closet can only stop you from being seen. It is not shame-proof. When you soak a child in shame, they cannot develop the neurological pathways that carry thought. You know, carry thoughts of self-worth. They can't do that. Self-hatred is only ever a seed planted from outside in, but when you do that to a child, it becomes a weed so thick and grows so fast, the child doesn't know any different. It becomes as natural as gravity. When I came out of the closet, I didn't have any jokes. The only thing I knew how to do when I came out of the closet was to be invisible and to hate myself. It took me another 10 years to understand that I was allowed to take up space in the world, but by then I'd sealed it off into jokes like it was no big deal. I need to tell my story properly because I paid dearly for a lesson that nobody seems to have wanted to learn. And this is bigger than homosexuality. This is about how we conduct debate in public about sensitive things. It's toxic, it's juvenile, it's destructive. We think it's more important to be right than it is to appeal to the humanity of people we disagree with. Ignorance will always walk amongst us because we will never know all of the things. I need to tell my story properly because you learn from the part of the story you focus on. Take Vincent, old mate, Vincent van Gogh. The way we tell his story, it's no good. It's destructive because we've reduced it to a tale of rags to riches. He only sold one painting in his life. You know, now look at him. He's quite dead. Yeah, but very successful. Only sold one painting in his lifetime. Yeah, and people believe, you know, with that story that Van Gogh was just this misunderstood genius, you know. He's, you know, born ahead of his time. What a load of shit. Nobody is born ahead of their time. It's impossible. Nobody is born ahead of their time. Maybe preemie babies, but they catch up. Artists don't invent zeitgeists, they respond to it. He was not ahead of his time. He was a post-impressionist painter, painting at the peak of post-impressionism while Peter was picking his pickled pepper. He wasn't born ahead of his time. He couldn't network because he was mental. He was crazy. He had unstable energy. People would cross the street to avoid him. That's why he didn't sell any more than one painting in his lifetime. He couldn't network. This whole idea, this romanticising of mental illness is ridiculous. It is not a ticket to genius. It's a ticket to fucking nowhere. And artists are not these incredible, you know, mythical creatures that exist outside of the world. No, artists have always been very much a part of the world and very, very firmly attached to power. Always. Always. Power and money. Art is always there. Right back to the Renaissance. Oh, the turtles, all of them. All of them. They knew how to network. Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello. Oh, they're right up there, painting their own business cards, schmoozing. Michelangelo was a bit difficult. He was a bit crazy, but, you know, he still networked. He gave gobbies to the Pope. Kissed his ring, literally, but I think it's a shame that art history is such an elitist sport. It taught me a lot, you know, useless as far as a money earner is concerned, but I learned a lot about the world because of art history. I understand this world. I understand this world very well. I understand the world that I live in because of art history. I understand the world that I live in and my place in it. And I don't have one. And do you know how much time that saved me? Oh, I'm quite old, but look at the skin. That's because I haven't wasted time looking for how I fit in. I don't. A lot of naps. Art history taught me there's only ever been two types of women. Virgin or a whore. Most people think that Miley Cyrus and Taylor Swift invented that binary, but it's been going on thousands of years. There's only ever been two options for a little girl to grow up into, a virgin or a whore. But we're always given a choice. Take your pick. Lady's choice. That's the trick of the patriarchy. It's not a dictatorship. Take a choice. And I don't fit very neatly into either of those categories. Virgin or whore. I mean, on a technicality, I'd get virgin. But no. Do you know, if you go into a gallery with the oldie paintings there's a lot of evidence to suggest that women have existed for a very long time. Longer than clothes. But not this masculine of centre lesbian situation here. And art history taught me, like, you know, I look at these history women and I don't feel like I'm the same species. There's a lot of things that I do, and it's not a identity construction. No, just things happen naturally, and art history taught me that these things are not really the place of a woman, you know. And one of the things I do is I can generate thoughts in my own brain, unprompted. I can do that all the time. Oh, had another one. They just come all the time. And art history taught me, you know, historically, women didn't have time for the think thoughts. They didn't have time. They were too busy napping naked alone in the forest. Even biologically, I don't feel like I'm the same species. For a start, I've got a functioning skeletal system. If you go into the galleries, you see if a woman's not sporting a corset and or a hymen, she just loses all structure. Just sort of like, oh, just flopping about all over the place, going, oh, what does furniture? Side saddle tits akimbo. No wonder we can't reverse park, ladies. Dumb history women couldn't even reverse park their ass onto a chair. Another thing that I do is not very ladylike is every day I seem to be able to finish the getting of the dress. Every day. Not a problem. All the buttons all the way up. And I'm quite a vague and forgetful person, but seem to do it quite easily. Especially if I'm leaving the house to get my portrait painted. Never once have I thought, you know what, today I might just leave a cheeky one out. High art. Oh, I'm going to call it, guys.